Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. With me this week is John Steier of Steier Flooring in Algona, Iowa. He is an 18-year veteran of the floor covering industry, a certified flooring installer for at least R1C1 with carpet. I will find out more in a minute when he introduces himself. And he owns his own little retail shop. He worked up from working for some people to now he's got his own retail shop doing the installs. He's more than a man in a van. He's a man in a van with a building. And what we're going to talk about is within John's a member of the mastermind group, and this conversation came about because it's something he's struggling with. It's something I've struggled with in the past. And one of the other members affectionately calls it Captain Save-A-Ho. What does that mean? I think what it really means is that a lot of times we want our employees to succeed more than they want to succeed themselves. And that's why when they come to us and they say, hey man, I need $20, man. Can I get a tank of gas? I know it's not payday. Can I get an advance? Hey man, I can't make it today. I got to call in sick. And then you let them call in sick every week, right? And it affects your production and it screws up your schedule, but you know they can do it, right? You just want them to succeed so bad. And so you put up with it and you put up with it and you put up with it because they're in a bad spot in life. You're trying to give them that hand up. And honestly, you know deep down you're never going to see an ROI on that investment and you should just let them go. But you want them to succeed so bad that you are Captain Save-A-Ho. And it's a bad place to be as a business owner. And that's what we're going to talk about this week. Before we get into it, what's Floor Academy? Floor Academy is your source every week on Wednesday to tune in and find out how to incorporate some little nugget of wisdom you get throughout the podcast into your business to go from owning a job to owning an asset, move yourself one step further to being free from having to go and slave away every day, right? Like we need to make this fun, enjoyable, and all of that. These conversations give you the insights to change how your business is run. And you can help support the show, patreon.com/Floor Academy. If the show's helping you change your business, I'd appreciate a little support over there. Even $5 a month goes a long way. Check out the website, flooracademypod.com. Head over to the store. You can get a shirt, a hoodie, beanies. Man, look, we just had Tice. I'm not seeing anybody with a Floor Academy fanny pack at Tice, and that needs to be a thing, right? Like, how else do you want to be able to like carry your swag around for the day at conventions, right? So you help me, and you get an easy, fashionable. I'm telling you, fanny packs are fashionable, all right? It's 1987 still. Wear a fanny pack around the convention. You'll be the coolest person around, especially if it says Floor Academy on it. And then go like and subscribe on all of your favorite places that you listen to us, and YouTube. Go like on YouTube. I need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, folks. I'm not even at 200 yet. I'm over 150. Help me out. Tell a friend. Go over on YouTube, subscribe, like that, and now we'll get into it. John, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Like, what's your 30,000 foot view for us, buddy?
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. So I'm John Steier, Steier Flooring here in the great state of Iowa in a beautiful town called Algona. And I am a certified installer, R2, C1, laminate, hardwood, 1 and 2, and then residential resilient. And I'm going to embarrass myself here, but my number is 014 something.
Wow, dude, you got hardwood and laminate too. Man, I've been trying to get.
It was all in one class too. So
I've been trying to get that since I got certified hardwood and laminate in 2019, January 2019, and then COVID and all that stuff hit. They have not had a hardwood laminate too since. I've never seen one, right? So like I'm mad. So CFI, like, please listen to me. Give me a hardwood and laminate too. I want my cert, and I need to go get certified for. They added LVP to it, so like I want to do the little LVP section. So I have hardwood laminate LVP because I hate trying to sell LVP jobs and then saying, "Oh, I'm hardwood and laminate certified." Like it doesn't sound as good. So CFI, man, help me out. Let me get a little love on my LVP and my hardwood laminate too. I've tried, man. I can't get 10 guys. I'm working on it. If you got to take matters into your own hands sometimes. All right, I'm sorry. That's my rant. I'll stop. Please go back to you. To you.
Absolutely. So yes. So here in Algona. So a little bit about my background. I got into floor covering in 2004. I tried the college route. I didn't hate it. I hated going to class. I loved everything else about it. You know, the girls, the beer, it was great. But you don't show up for class. You don't pass.
I had the same problem.
So I actually moved back home. I was kind of I'm going to use the word deadbeat for a little bit there. I was really confused on what I wanted to do, and then I responded to an ad one day in the paper that said floor covering installer helper, furniture delivery, and I thought, well, I'm a strong enough young man. This is perfect. And then you just unroll carpet, and well, here I am later. But my career. This is probably a great segue for what we're going to talk about. I feel that my career has been, I'm very fortunate. You know, I'm not the installer. I'm not the tradesman that's got the horror stories galore. I've got a couple good ones, but I feel for the most part, I've been very blessed and that's probably, kind of, it reflects on my personality. I know I'm a pretty upbeat going person. I carry a positive attitude a lot. Yes. That's very, very important. And I was one when I got started that was given that hand up. And I want to share that story a little bit. So when I got on at this furniture and flooring store, I had previously had an OWI, high risk insurance. And so you're not able to, you're not really insurable. And I had my crappy little Ford Ranger, and I had the whole breathalyzer thing in it one time, and then then got that taken out. But I had the high insurance on that and whatever. And on my review, I remember I got my raise, and they also they let me. I was able to drive one of their vehicles. They insured one of their vehicles, and that was kind of my holy cow. And that goes back to, me really pushing small businesses. Like I can relate a lot to small businesses. If you're going to ask me for advice on running Fortune 500, I'd be horrible advice. You'd go broke pretty quick.
Well, so one, just to clarify, look, if you don't know, an OWI is operating while intoxicated. It's the equivalent of like a DUI in other states, right? Like DUI. If you can't, if you didn't know, I think it's key that you pointed out, because I was going to bring it up if you didn't. I was like, hey, can we touch on this? Because I think you were Captain Save. Like you were the hoe to be saved at one point. Like there was a troubled youth that needed guidance. Now, when you're talking about them putting you on the insurance and after your review and all of that, and it meant a lot to you, and you kind of had this realization, and I want to get into that. Like, how old were you at that point?
22.
20. So I think that's amazing. Like a 22-year-old to have the insights that you're going to talk about. That's, look, most 22-year-olds aren't going to have these insights. So you're definitely different. So they made this decision and it meant what to you?
So, I'm sitting there and it just, at first it just hits you like, oh, okay, yeah, cause I'm 22. I just got a raise. I got a $1 an hour raise. That's big time. I worked for Kmart at one time. I got a 23-cent an hour raise there one time. Not 25 cents, because for whatever reason, my review wasn't good enough. I got 23 cents. So I got a whole $1, Kyle. So that was what I was gloating on. But I was really liking what I was doing too. And the people themselves, the owners of the business, Jim and Angie, were just great to me. Jim would give me like a $20 bill at times because the installer at the time didn't have a cell phone. He'd use my cell phone, and we'd be out on deliveries, and he'd pick up McDonald's for me for lunch. Mm-hmm. It's just piddly stuff like that. But you put that all into perspective, that and I think that was that. What do they say? A man's brain doesn't develop until he's in his early 20s, anyways. And it was probably one of those where I just, I don't remember the exact feeling, but I just remember waking up and like feeling like I needed to call my mother and apologize for everything. Cause like, it just hit me all at once, like, oh man, you have an opportunity here. Don't screw this up.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I quit drinking. I quit drinking at 22 years old. I was just like, I don't want to take any chances with this. I was actually, truthfully, I was probably more driven at 22 than I am at 40. But that's how I got to where I got now. And that's why I have the views that I have. That's why I have the outlook that I have, you could say on the industry in general. And it's probably also why I'm not the guy that you're ever going to get on to talk to about just having bad day after bad day and being screwed over by this guy and that guy and life sucks and blah, blah, blah. I just don't share that. And it's probably because of back then when I was 22 years old, what had happened.
You have one of the most like excitable personalities I know. Like you get very, you're easily excitable, but you're all like the positivity. Dude, I can call John any time of day and he is cranked to 11. There is never a time you will get John at a 1 or a 2. It is always 11 with him. And it's all like anything can happen and you will get a text message about like, dude, that's winning or that's awesome. Or like his cup is overflowing. It is not a half full or half empty debate. His is overflowing at all times. It's absolutely like, it's awesome. I'm very thankful to be able to know you and have you like in this circle of people that I tend to keep a little closer and interact with a lot more. Because it rubs off on you. Like it really does. And so it's awesome. And I'm pessimistic by nature. So I need people like you around me to like, hey man, it's all good. Like you're going to do this.
We fulfill each other. I think so too, because, I'm probably also the one that's like, oh, it's just a fire. Let's go running in. I need a guy like you to be like, oh, buddy, bring her back.
Yep. So I think part of this conversation would be like anyone that's kind of watched for the past couple of years, Floor Academy has been around. You can go, you may have heard the stories of Brad, right? At one point, it was probably like late 2019, 2020. Maybe it was all of 2019, somewhere in there. There was, I had an apprentice at this point. He really was a helper, but I don't like that word, but that's what he turned out to be. I had what I wanted to be my apprentice, Brad. And so you could go to Flooring Installers of America, go on Facebook, join the group if you're not in it, type in my name in the search bar, scroll way, way, way back, and you'll see me make all these posts about Brad and how he's the unicorn. And there's even this awesome post. John went and found it recently because he wasn't around at the time, and I was able to borrow someone's like unicorn headband. Like it's a girl from my Cub Scout group let me borrow her unicorn like headband, and I put it on this young man, and I took pictures of him saying he was the unicorn, and it was funny. It was a good time. And I invested so much time and energy into him. Like I let this kid hang out for like 9 months in my company, paying him. And because I wanted him to succeed so much, I truly wanted him to become the installer that I wanted, and after 3 months, it was like, well, I don't know. I knew at 3 months it wasn't going to work, but I wanted it to work. And okay, like I can put up with this. And he showed up on time and, he worked, but he never worked hard. There's no second gear for Brad. There's first gear, and then there's like go home and sleep.
Yeah.
And I just like nothing I did could get him motivated. I seriously, I took him out to lunch one day and I had the conversation with him, and I'm like, hey man, like, what do you want in life? Like, what excites you? Like, is it a video game? Is it a vacation? Like, what do you want? I don't know. I'm good. I just make some money, and like, I can pay my rent, and I can have my alcohol on the weekends, and like, there was nothing. And so I think we end up with people like that a lot of times, and it's frustrating because, like I said, we want them to succeed. And so I've kind of learned, like, no matter what I want, it doesn't matter if they don't want it. And part of that comes down to interview process. Part of that comes down to how we interact with people. But just in how we've talked, you've had some people around. Okay. So let's talk about, we don't have to name names, and cause I'm sure like I know at least one of them is the one that got you onto the groups. So, but you you had some subs at one point, and they're no longer, you still use one, but very minimally. But like, what initially had you bring these guys on, and like, what was this process to even keep them around? Like, why were you doing it?
I mean, a lot of reasons, and I'll list them all here. But I had one going way back. I had guys that would help out. And then it's like, well, I can look past all these bad things, and let's try it out. And those guys maybe just kind of fizzled out themselves. But I got to say this, and I really mean this. Even these guys that I've used that I haven't worked out, I still wish them the best. I still talk to them. I'm still sending them text messages and
that's
wanting to know what's
different.
going on.
That's totally different than letting them abuse your company, though.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. But, and I don't look. So there's the difference. I don't look at it like that. I don't want to, because that's not the mindset that I want to have with it. I don't want to have this, like, the fear of bringing somebody into the business. I'm going to call it my team, because I like that. I love the way that sounds. Like, when you're a team, you're all together. You all have a common goal. So it doesn't matter if you're, coming in just to clean my shop, or if you're helping me carry a roll of carpet in. Dude, you're here. You're part of the Steier Flooring team.
Yeah.
And so, when I get them in here, I had one guy. He actually taught me. He taught me a lot of stuff, and a lot of good stuff. And the big thing with us was we were different. He was the first year only, not here for progress. I just tell myself, hey, that's okay. He gets a couple things done, does a good job, not getting a lot of callbacks. I've had the guys too that they've had 7 grandfathers die in the last 3 months. They've been calling with that grandpa died again. I got a funeral,
Yeah.
And I think I chose to not get pissed off about it. I chose to just, like, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, you'll probably hear me quote that a lot. If this is the worst thing that happens to me today, whatever, show up tomorrow. And, truthfully, I'm not always, like, happy with myself at it, right? Like, at the end of the day, I'm like, man, you really need to handle that better and not be such a cheery dude. But just the way that I'm built, I can't focus on negativity, or I'm not productive. I can't move on to the next step if I'm stuck with dragging and trying to figure out a reason or trying to understand why somebody is the way they are. I'm willing to accept somebody the way they are and accept them as a project for me.
But look, this is where I think the problem lies, right? We have to come from it from the perspective of, and this is kind of what I've learned, I think, is that the higher authority, right? It's Steier Flooring, owned by John Steier. However, John Steier is an employee of Steier Flooring, right? So Steier Flooring comes first, right? It is the top echelon of every decision that gets made. Although you make the decision, you have to make the decision in the best interest of Steier Flooring. How that affects John Steier could be different. It could be good or it could be bad. But if it's in the best interest of making Steier Flooring successful, then it may hurt John. And that's okay, though, because we have to put the company first. And I think a lot of times we put ourselves first because we don't want to have to fire the guy. And I know, dude, you are so cheery and, like, good spirited. The last thing you want to do is be like, hey man, it's Christmas Eve, I got to let you go. Like, you would never do that. I think I've learned that I would, and I wouldn't be happy about it. I'm not going to enjoy it. But if that's what's best for the company, that's what needs to happen. And so I think we get ourselves in these positions to where, look, there's nothing wrong with staying in contact with them. There's nothing wrong with wishing them the best. But when they're hurting my company, when they're hurting Steier Flooring, and it's not as productive, and we've dug into like your numbers and stuff, and you actually are being more profitable now without them than you were without them, because they were taking projects, but they weren't getting them done in a timely manner, right? Like something that should take a day or two was taking a week. Why am I going through the aggravation of it if you're not going to help? Like it's costing me money having it take this long, as opposed to you moving from project to project. And so I think that's the first thing that people have to get over, right? Is just, it's not you, it's your company, and what is in the best interest of the company to have this employee around or get trained or like be dealt with, right? I'm all for helping people. I think look, everyone knows, they've heard, if they've listened to the show long enough, I literally cold called 30 contractors asking for a project or a job, telling them like, here's what I know from my experience in high school and middle school with woodworking, and I want to go out on my own in 2 years, right? I knew it was going to take 2 years to get a license, and I was very forthright with that information, but somebody invested in me. I got no problem investing in people, but they have to they have to show you a return on that investment. And I think a lot of times we get sucked into, well, it'll pay off, but there's never any payoff. It's like going to Vegas and, betting on
thing over time for me to understand, right? When you go from, let's say, man in the van to now you've got this business, the higher authority has always been John Steier until you grow. Right? Until you want to grow. Then it's your business. Then it's Steier Flooring. And believe me, it took a long time to wrap my head around that because of, I'm going to use the excuse of where I live, but I've always sold myself, never my business. And that's why I reached out to you about getting in the mastermind group and wanting to, and wanting someone to challenge me on that. Right? Because, as great as it sounds, I reached out to you because I was having problems, and I could see it. I was fortunate it wasn't financial problems, but it was problems with workflow, problems with, task oriented. Mm-hmm. And we all know my personality. I am not the guy you're going to want as an HR person. Let's just, if you were a company, you're not hiring me. You're hiring me to maybe do some motivating, get the crews going. You're not hiring me to do the hiring and firing. But guess what? When you are the guy that does the hiring, and you guys, the guy that does all the work, you have to do that, right?
Correct.
You just have to do that.
Yep.
And so I have let people go. I dislike it. I dislike the feeling. It's absolutely horrible. It's absolutely horrible when you see them in the store, when you see them out and about, because I naturally have that guilt. It's just always there. It's one thing that I'm not going to say I'm cursed with it, because I think having empathy and compassion, I think that's what makes me a damn good person at the end of the day. That's what makes me who I am. But moving in the world of my business and looking at it from that, Kyle, you are 100% correct. And moving forward too with my business, I'm in a process where I do have a guy right now that's helping me out. I'm doing things a lot different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of. You took his wife to the doctor the other day, man.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not opening here. We're, but at the same time, I think you can have that balance in there. I also think what's going to make anybody a good employer or a good is showing them right away that you care. Because that was very important to me when I started working for small businesses. Because right away, if you're there to produce, to do what you're supposed to do, I just have yet, like I said, I don't have those bad experiences. I've always been well received. People have come back to me, and it's just been such a good relationship wherever I've gone. That's a part of me that I want to offer to anybody that wants to come into Steier Flooring.
You're talking about culture, I think, right? Like the environment that was presented was good, right? You want someone to feel welcomed. You want them to feel a part of the team. And I think all of that is very important. However, at what point do we draw the line, right? And this is where, we can, like I said, right, you are doing things a lot different with this new guy that you have around working as a sub and taking some projects on for you. He gets them done way faster than the old guys did, that he could actually like make you some money, right? And this isn't about what I see it all the time. Oh, you're making money off installers' backs. No, he's selling the project, and then he's taking a risk by having an installer go and do it. And he also, John pays very, very well for what he offers. He's not taking 80% of it. He's probably paying out 70% plus to the guy. Like, and we don't need to get into the numbers. But
no,
look, it's not about making money off somebody's back. It's that it's not fiscally smart for the business.
Gotta make money. I'm not going to be here 10 years from now if I'm not making money. I mean, you've got to look at it like that. And
correct. And so you look, he's come on, and okay, so I know, like, he called you one day and he was like, I don't have any gas to get to the project, right? So he had to come in and get some gas money, and then he was able to make it to the project. They were snowed in the other week, and you dug yourself out, and you drove your van over, and you took his wife to a doctor's appointment. So, like, there's a lot of stuff happening here that a lot of people would frown on, or based on previous experiences, I would tell you, John, stop doing that kind of stuff. Like, he doesn't deserve it. However, there's also the argument, and this is what you're probably going to make, is that he's actually being productive and helping Steier Flooring be more successful than the other guys did in a year, right? And you've been using him on projects for like a month and a half, 2 months now,
maybe 2 months, and just on and off. But
so, like, where does it come from, right? Like,
if anybody calls me because I need to get to the doctor, I mean, just we live in the heart of the Midwest, people. So, you know, like, there's a line when you have a flat tire. There's a line of people behind you that have pulled over to take a turn to help you change that tire. That's our culture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so so you got to understand that too, to some degree. And you can make the argument, you've been burnt, but I will say this, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. Drawing the line in the sand is something John Steier's got to get a lot better at. You're 100% correct. And we can get into that a little bit too, but, like, I mean, I don't care who you are. You call me because you need to get somewhere. If I can get there, I'm going to do what I can. And it wasn't an emergency. Let's face it. I mean, jeepers, we would have called 911. But, I mean, who doesn't feel a little bit like a badass when they can get out in the snow, plow through some snowbanks, like John Wayne this thing a little bit. But, it felt, let's face it, you feel good doing stuff like that. It's addicting to me. I think I would just assume feel good every day. Do something that makes you feel good every day.
I can't argue with that. The argument would be that for the company, it's not a wise decision to go above and beyond for someone that hasn't proven themselves to, like, really deserve such actions, right? I think, and that's where people get into trouble, is it's like, but once again, within these 2 months, in knowing your business a little bit, I think he's proven more reliable than anybody else has. And it was like, at least he was honest, man. He didn't ask for $20 to, like, not show up to work. And it wasn't the day before. He literally, like, he called you up and said he had enough gas to get to the shop. Do you have money for me to be able to get gas money so I can get to the project and go make money? And then he delivered on it, right? Because I think a lot of times the complaints that folks get are, they're calling you up, they're asking you for an advance, and then they can't even show up to come and get it.
Yeah. See, I'm so fortunate. I've never had that happen. And see, maybe that's why I'm so trusting, because I've done that crap. Oh, you need a check Wednesday? Sounds good. Just get the job finished up. Is that good business practice? I'm not a business. I don't have a degree in any of that crap. I'm not the one that's going to call that. I'm going to do it. I've never been burnt that way. I feel like where I have been burnt is kind of like what you've said, is I've given to a point, and it's hard for me to get that point across. Like, guys, we have to produce. You have to be, you have to accept this is the culture of this business, is work. We've got to go do it. And it is what it is. Me, can I say, I'm going to say old John. Old John was not that way. Old John was like, oh, absolutely. Here, take my van for a week, like.
Yes, he was.
Comes back smelling like hell because you smoked in it. Oh, no big deal. Just leave the doors open. I want to air that thing out. That's probably, I can't say that that's bad because the job got done.
But it is bad because they didn't respect your stuff. They didn't respect you. They didn't respect the company. They didn't respect you.
You're correct, and that's where I am so gullible. Like, I'm the guy that you can probably sell anything to, and, that's why I need my wife with me for stuff like that. Yeah. But where do you stop with that? How do you start that? Like, where do you set the parameters up when you hire somebody that, okay, now you deserve this level of treatment and this level of treatment? I don't know that I ever want to go down that road. I think you're going to start off up here. And I just need to get to like the spot where like we're done really cool, like a lot quicker. Where you can't crap on me. And even then, I don't want to look at it like being crapped on. I just want to look at it like you're just not producing. You're not making. I don't even know what the right word is there, but
So I think this comes down to what you had to do, right? Like one of the things you've done recently is you've been coming up with like, what are the expectations for an employee? Like what standards do you have to meet? And this comes down to a lot of the other discussions that we've had on the show, and that how do you hold someone accountable when all you did was hire some kid or 30-year-old, child, because that's what a lot of them are. That's pretty much what I was when I got hired, was 30-year-old man child. And like, it's, hey, show up over here at this time, and then you're going to go over here and I'll tell you what to do then. There was no set expectations. There was no solid job description of what I was going to do. And look, your job description of you're going to remove and install flooring, well, that sucks, okay? That doesn't tell me anything, okay? Or it's hard and you have to move heavy things. Like, great. I already kind of figured that. So what do you actually expect of me? What do you want me to accomplish? How do I need to accomplish it, right? When there's procedures and systems and processes in place that have to be followed, I can hold people accountable to a standard. And it's not John Steier's standard, it's Steier Flooring's standard, or Illustrious Hardwood standard. This is what's required of you to be employed here. And so now I have a standard to hold them against, okay? And then as for like, where do I start with the charity or the hand ups or like the investment into people? I think you're 100% right to start at the top, okay? Because there's two ways to look at this. And even with my pessimistic view, I will always go all out on investing in someone until like I will trust you to the end of the earth upon meeting you, because you've never given me a reason not to trust you. When you give me the reason not to trust you, now I'm going to start withdrawing. You're going to lie to me about something? Okay, I'll pull back. You're going to not deliver on what you told me you would get done? Okay, I'm going to pull back. So I'll give you everything, and I'll whittle it down to what you actually show me you deserve. And I like that's my approach. I think there's other people that will be so reserved until they see people deliver, and then they open up and they open up and they open up.
So let's go down that hole, because I have seen that. Here years and years ago, I'm out of town working. I need a box of tack strip. I don't want to go to the big box and get that crap. So I go to the local chain flooring store. And they have the same tack strip that I'm going to use. So here, we go back to pick it up. First, here's where I'm like, oh my God, why would anybody work for this company? They have this like chicken wire locked up. I mean, all they were missing was electric razor wire on this thing of all the supplies. All the supplies are locked up under lock and key in here. Okay. That's weird. I've never seen that before, but so here's a bunch of guys, I'm assuming they do not trust their installers, but they trust them to go out into their clients' homes, but we can't trust them in our own store. We're going to lock our stuff. I hated that. Boy, I thought, I would never work for this company. Then I go up front, this box of tax strip, I'm paying like $28. And I know that I'm not going to be paying $28 here. I'm going to be paying a markup.
Yep.
I paid over $60 for that box. Come to find out, they were marking their material up too. They were selling their contractors. They were. I mean, to me, I was like, oh man, I'm never ever going to be this. I'm never going to have my subs, my employees come in and have to walk on glass to feel as though they need to work in my store. And so that's where you were talking about starting everybody down here.
Yeah.
That's the crap that I've heard those stories. I've seen those stories. I don't want to be that guy because, to me, the people that I want to emulate, the ones that are really successful, they're not like that. Right. And I think you've made that comment so many times on your podcast is like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I want to create relationships. And
yes.
I really strive that with my staff. Again, where I lack at is how far is too far. But
I think it's learned behavior.
It's learned behavior, and I don't ever see myself changing. I see myself being more structured and regimented, and developing that to where it's going to be. This is Steier Flooring, not John Steier. You are here to make the business money first, and then we can be friends. And I still got to wrap my head around that sometimes, but it's the God's honest truth. At the end of the day, when you're doing that, this is not a charity.
Well, there could be a charity. There could be a charity leg, like Steier Flooring can offer charity to the community. But it's not like you're right. I can't have employees as charity cases. Absolutely.
And I still feel like I'm just so fortunate that I've never had that problem where I've had to like pinch pennies and I'm money strapped. So part of me thinks, well, don't change what you're doing because it's not entirely broke. It's Correct. Like we need to fix some stuff. And that's so I would be the guy to always make the argument to always assume goodness in other people, no matter what. You got crapped on 100 times before. At some point, it's not going to happen. You change something a little different along the way, make improvements on it, but always assume goodness in other people because, man, without people, you ain't going to be able to do anything. You ain't going to be able to run a business.
Yeah.
And I would never want to be that employer or business owner that, I can always think of a million reasons why I shouldn't work for somebody or shouldn't trust somebody, but that just takes time. It takes effort. And if you're going to be that person, you're always going to have that reason. It's pretty easy to find something you like about somebody. Try it sometime. It's pretty easy. Just go say hi to somebody in the grocery store. They're going to smile back at you. They're probably going to, what do I do in the mastermind group, Kyle? I mean, we got one member. She's got the most beautiful hair in the world. I mean, it's just find something that you like about somebody and kind of stick to it.
Yes, that's great. We're gonna dig into that because I think that's definitely something. So let me interrupt us for 1 second. I got a little message from Johns Manville. Not all foam boards have the high performance that GoBoard does. Johns Manville has been producing rigid foam boards for decades for commercial roofs. What does this mean for flooring and shower applications if they aren't exposed to the same harsh elements as a roof? If it's good enough for a commercial roof, it's even better for your flooring, countertop, or shower project, especially at a reasonable price. Visit www.jm.com/GoBoard for more information. Okay, so we're looking at like always believing in the good in people. And I think that positive attitude, right? Like that's what's so addictive about being around you is it's a good thing, right? If I were to turn on, like, there's a reason I don't pay attention a lot to like the local news, and I haven't had cable in years and years and years, and I don't even have an antenna hooked up to my television that's downstairs that my son plays his Nintendo Switch on. Like, I can't even get local TV without going through effort because we don't watch it. There's not, like, I don't care about the news because I know what's, look, I'll tell you what's going to be on the news tonight. Okay. You're going to hear about a murder. You're going to hear about some way the politicians are doing something that's bad for you. And you're going to hear about how we're probably facing a recession and it's going to be really bad. And it's all like this fear mongering. And then on the last little 30 seconds, they're going to have a feel good story. That's the news. That's news that's the news in 30 seconds, guys. Okay. So what do I need that for? Right. Because if anything big happens, I'm attached to enough social media or other people that I'm going to hear about a big decision that needs to be made or is going to actually affect me. Okay. So in the meantime, why don't I ignore all of that and focus on my local area? Right. I'm going to do more good by helping my neighbor next door to me. Or, you know, let's say I live in I know that you would do this, right? Like you said, in the Midwest, it snows a lot. If there was the little old lady that her kids didn't come around and take care of her very well, and her driveway needed to be plowed, you're running over there and you're plowing that driveway off for her. The 100%. Amount of goodwill that brings into your local community is way more than what me trying to push my agenda with this podcast of run a better business and all of that does. No lie. Like, I truly believe that. It's not that I don't think this podcast is helpful to you. Don't let me, like, I'm not trying to knock what I'm doing. Okay. This is valuable. I know it's helped people, but it's more powerful to go affect your local community than it is to try and make a difference on a national level. It'll be easier to get the pebble to knock the boulder down the hill per se than if you try and accomplish something on a national level. You're going to get more momentum on a local level.
Kyle, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. And that's kind of like the whole way my life works, you know. Like I think, you know what, I'm going to, you know, kind of go off a little bit here, but I didn't get onto the Facebook groups until I actually, like, I hired somebody to set up a John Steier Facebook account, because I had a Steier Flooring, but I couldn't get it to have John Steier. And that's where I realized we a little arrogant here, but we need some more John Steiers, because you start reading that crap, people, you want doom and gloom. Some of them Facebook groups, that's all it is. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. Why does anybody want to get into floor covering when you're going to get hosed over by every store and every homeowner doesn't want to pay you and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Jeepers creepers. So I'm trying to use what little platform and soapbox that I have to get that word out there that you don't have to be that guy and be successful. Believe me, I've made so many mistakes, but I believe in karma. I believe you throw enough good stuff out there, the silly things that you do, they're kind of pointless. And even the things that cost you money become pointless. You know, I see it as, you know, yes, you know, running a business is not that. You can't just be like, here we go, everybody, here's gift cards and yes, all the money and all the tools you can have. I get that. So I guess where I'm going with that is, you know, I bring that into my business too. And
I think that's okay. I do, but where's the, like, I think you have to learn a line, and that's what I've gone through. I think that's what you're going through, is like, okay, I can go to this extreme, but it's detrimental. Like, it hurts the company. So if it hurts the company, it hurts John.
So I see that at like if I'd be at a larger scale, I don't know that what I'm doing would work 100%. Like I can't say one way or another. But you can just look at, if you've got 4 guys that are non-producers going out, not making you money, you're not going to be in business very long. I was able to offset mine with me going out and doing stuff. So maybe I was a little delusional there that, things are really not that bad. But I'm the guy that's, you know, I'm working till midnight, you know. No, not that long.
No, you weren't doing
that.
But,
you know, you're 100% right, Kyle. You're 100% right, is to know and for me, growing and being a part of your mastermind group, that is part of it, is understanding where that line is,
Mhm.
and being able to distinguish when I'm being taken advantage of.
Well, I don't even know that it's being taken advantage of, right? Like I don't think they took advantage of you. I think it's John that's so caring that you overextended yourself, right? Like you kept giving and giving and giving when you should have said, "Oh, this isn't working." And I think that's what happens a lot of time. Once again, we want it so bad for them that we go and give and give and give and try and make it work and justify it to ourselves. But because what's the standard? Well, we didn't have one that was clear, that says, if you can't perform to this level, I can't help you anymore, right? Like, in order to be helped,
well, then
I need you to perform
right?
here, right? And it's not like,
got to be the guy. That's one thing with me. That's hey, I'm second, third, fourth, fifth. How many chances you want here? I've been that guy. So when you make the say, where does that come? To me, I look back, I didn't have stuff really in writing back then. I made up, at one point I did make up some little job description sheet, but even I wasn't following that. I was going, because I was like, well, maybe I'm just being a little too strict here. And again, it's there for a reason, guys. We write that for a reason, and it's ever changing. I understand that now. It's ever changing. It can be added to. But again, I don't think it's we need to be so fearful of bringing new hires on, because in my area, our unemployment's super low. The economy is pretty good. I'm not going to just probably get that fresh, energetic John Steier. I'm going to get somebody that probably needs a little work on. If I go down and moving, how do I navigate through that? How do I set those boundaries, and make it, okay, it's business first. And that, I always call it the friendship, the team atmosphere. That's tough. That's tough as the business owner when you wear all those hats. When you do,
I think there's a lot of people that struggle with that. I had Brad over on Sundays for dinner, right? Like we were doing family dinners, and like, hey man, you want to come and hang out? Because to me, he is part of the family, right? This is a family business. It's my name on the paperwork, but it doesn't succeed without my wife. Like I am not able to do anything I do without my wife managing the household, running children around to different things, and making sure that there's, food on the table and all of that stuff. The role she plays is absolutely essential to Floor Academy and Illustrious Hardwoods having any success. I would not have been able to do it without her. I'm a hot mess. I hate cooking. I will starve instead of make a meal. Okay. I'm just that lazy.
Ramen noodles and mac and cheese.
But I won't even do that because I don't want to clean the dishes. So I'll starve. Like I've done that. Like that.
Microwave ones, dude. Just throw the styrofoam away.
I got to take the trash out. Like it's just, there's extra work, dude. Like literally I am I am that lazy at points. Okay. And so I just don't want to deal with it. So like she is, which is funny because I'll go and work 18 hours a day installing floors and doing a podcast afterwards and an estimate. But I won't make myself dinner. Like it's absolutely absurd where I draw the line on things. Anyways, now I forgot what we were talking about. So my wife is important to the success. And so I think having those people and being able to I want them to experience that, right? I want them to be a part of the family. That's what I was talking about, right? So my wife is part of this family business, even though she's not on the paperwork, right? So I want to bring my employees into being a part of that family. And that's part of the culture. However, look, you can come over on Sunday. We can hang out. We can have a beer. We can have a shot. We can play video games with my kids, and you can beat them in Super Smash Bros. And then on Monday, we're going to show up and I'm going to tell you, you got to do X, Y, and Z and perform. And if you got a problem with that, that's not my problem. That's your problem, right? I know where the line is, and I'm going to I can stand on either side of it because I can be your friend, but right now I'm your boss, and you need to be able to separate that as well as I can. And I think that's the issue is people let it go sideways.
I that's a great way to put it, because I see it like, we as the employer, let's just face it, we're going to intimidate these people a little bit, to some degree. We control their pay, we control,
Correct.
some of that stuff, how they live. And so I've reflected on that a lot. Like, are they because of my over abundance of cheerfulness, let's put it that, or are they like, oh man, what have I got myself into?
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell this guy, well, John, I have an issue with it because, I have an issue with this flooring. I just don't understand, which I don't, understand why that would be that way. But, maybe I need to step back and look like I'm not a negative person. So I'm not going to gripe about this extra floor prep that we have to do, where maybe this guy really bothers him. Like oh man, I had something lined up for tonight and now we got to work late,
Mm-hmm.
And so I found myself reflecting a lot, like maybe just shut up and when I'm working with these guys or are going to bring somebody on, is to be a little more reserved starting off and see who they really are at first and how they're going to take somebody like myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, how many people have gone to work with an installer that's, wanting high fives and like we're talking high fives, like Top Gun on the beach, Goose and Maverick, because we're going to go put in some pattern Berber.
That is definitely you. Yeah, there's not a lot of guys doing that. That he's going to be salty and crusty and like stereotypical.
Crusty,
he wants to drink his coffee and smoke his cigarette and tell you to shut up and don't ask questions.
Yeah, so I feel like I overcompensate that, or like I'm like, oh man, this guy's pissed off about this. All right, I am gonna just start throwing hey, and I got maybe need to step back and respect that's just the way they feel. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't change that, because at the end of the day, they have to change that.
Well, I think, but that influence you have over them, right? Like when you are the sum of like the 5 people you hang around with most. And I believe that, because for a long time I hung around with people that weren't so motivated. And once again, when I got involved in the groups, I wasn't communicating with people locally. Like I don't have friends locally that I go and hang out with. I'm not going fishing with my buds on the weekend or anything. Like I'm making phone calls and I'm chatting with you, or, I'm calling up other people all over the country. Like those are my friends. I get to go see them. Luckily, I came back from Surfaces. If you're listening to the show, if you're watching the video live in the Facebook now, I go to Surfaces next week, right? So I get to go see my friends, man. I'm super stoked. Like I actually get to go in person, hang out with friends. It's like feeling like, I feel like I'm a teenager again. I get to get out of school and ride my bike over, and we're going to spend a couple days together, right? It's like a big slumber party.
Yeah, share. I think flooring. So the one thing I found with flooring, Kyle, is for whatever reason, once it gets in your blood, you want to share that with everybody. You really do. And then being around other people that like it just as much as you do, it's like, I don't know. I've never done cocaine, but we're all as giddy as what I would picture people on cocaine, on drugs. I mean, it's a euphoric feeling. It really is.
Well, but that's the people that I've surrounded myself with are like that, right? They absolutely are passionate about what they do. And so it's changed. Like I said, I am pessimistic by nature. I cannot get rid of that. However, with the people I've surrounded myself from, I've been able to curb a lot of it, and I have a more positive outlook, but I resort to doom and gloom first, and then I take a step back, I reassess my situation, and I can find a lot of good in it. I'm retraining my mind, and I hope that at some point I'm not pessimistic by nature, because I've retrained my brain how to process everything. My buddy Trask, we were having a conversation one day, and it was like, why do we get upset when extra prep comes up? Why? We know that we work in construction. Okay. So something always is going to come up. let alone we're a contractor. So as like we solve problems, but as a business owner, businesses provide services, but really what businesses do at the heart and soul of it is they solve problems. So
Yeah. The definition of an installer.
if I'm a problem solver, why am I mad that a problem came up? Just shut up and come up with the solution and move forward, right? And I think that's where a lot of this comes from, right? Is so you can be the positive influence on these guys that are getting mad, right? You're going to go, oh man, hey, look, it's cool. Look, you go do this, I go do that. We're going to knock it out in 30 minutes. We'll be out of here 15 minutes late. And then we can get off and like, you know, how you handle it can rub off on them over time, I think. And I don't think that's so much the issue. I think it's when we're giving them the pay advances and they're not delivering during the day, right? Or they're calling in and missing 2 days a week, or they're constantly showing up late. Why you would need a pay advance if you would have showed up the 2 days you missed last week? Well, my car was broken down. Okay. And like, I had a dude that started working for me. He lived 35 miles away and he drove a beater. And then he wanted me to give him pay advances so he could work on his car, but he missed work. So there was no money to advance him. Okay. So why would you take a job 35 miles away when you drive a beater and can't reliably get there? Like, I can only help you so much. Okay. I can't do everything for you. I can't hold your hand and just give you handouts, right? Like, and I think that's what people want, right? They want the hand out because it's easier than the hand up. The hand up requires them to I can only pull you so hard. You actually have to use the muscles in your knees and your legs and your core to help yourself stand up when I put my hand out. And that's the problem, right? I need you to respect what I'm doing for you enough that you have to reciprocate with some effort as well. And they just want the handout. They want the $20 and they don't want to worry about it, right? Oh man, I need cigarettes. Can I get $20?
But how do you like, so that is like the $1 billion question. How do you change that mindset?
You don't.
When we have nothing but first world problems.
Why? It's not my responsibility to change your mindset. I can lead by example. You have to.
I understand that, but I think like with our workforce, that's always going to be an issue, is because people aren't, we hear the news, we hear doom and gloom, but I am one that believes there is more good that goes on, especially where we live. There's more good than bad.
100%.
And so at the end of the day, even though, you're talking, these people are not able to, they have a million excuses. I think culture, we've made it, not me and you, Kyle, but the culture we live in has just made it to where it's too easy to be like this.
Okay.
There's no punishment if, okay, you want to have 15 jobs a year. So what?
Okay, well, fine. It's fine. I don't care that that's what culture's done, right? Because there are companies that will fit that operation model. Okay. You can go put in less effort somewhere else. I understand what I require of you is hard. All right. I understand that it's physically demanding. I understand that maybe it doesn't pay the best at first, but we can get you there. You got to earn it. You got to put in your time. However, I need somebody that's willing to step up and grow. And if you don't fit that, then maybe going and working at a box store that's going to allow you to be 15 minutes late every day and not have to grow and learn and excel is a better fit. Okay. So there are positions for you out there, but a position with Steier Flooring or Illustrious Hardwoods no longer exists because you can't meet these standards that I need from you. And I think that's the hard part to get over once again, is that I want to give you that hand up and it starts turning into handouts. and I don't want to enable you, right? You have to want it as much as I do, and that's the hard lesson to learn. Is
Yeah,
that
that's so
if they
hard
don't, if they don't reciprocate.
Yeah, that is so hard to get that, and you can't. I either say you have it or you don't have it. I mean, some people, they, you know, I find I was one that responded very well to that. I saw it as an opportunity, and a lot of it, you know, I'm going to go back to what you were talking about, changing your mindset. I believe you can, Kyle, because I did.
I do,
and I believe, you know, everybody's going to be different on how they do that, on how their outlook is, but you are what you surround yourself with. So you're 100% right. If you listen to the news and it's doom and gloom and Republicans and Democrats, blah, 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 then that's all you're going to be. That's you're letting that define who you are. Going to for me, you know, as an employer to try to change that, you know, yeah, in my head, I think I can do it. But you're right. You know, they're the ones that are going to have to go home and look in the mirror and be like, man, this is an opportunity.
Yes.
And they're going to have to say it just like that. This is an opportunity.
Correct. I can present it, but they have to want it. To go back to the guy that couldn't get here, right? Like, and I've probably talked about this on the show before. I was paying him $20 an hour. I told him, I can give you a $5 an hour raise, dude. I see it. Like, I know what you're bringing to the table every day for me. You are doing way more than what $20 an hour deserves. I can pay you $25 an hour. But here's what I need from you. I need the commitment. I need you here 30 working days in a row. Monday through Friday, on time, not late, nothing. Okay. Sounds good. 2 days later, he's calling in. Next week, he's calling in, right? Like, okay. So then I sit him down and I'm like, look, man, I know you're struggling. The clock keeps resetting. I need you to show up. Do you know what a $5 an hour raise will do for you? I was like, do you know how much money that is? He was like, no. I was like, okay, look at it this way, okay? You're making $20 an hour right now. You're working 40 hours a week. I was like, 20 times 40 is 800. He says, okay. I was like, okay, so we're going to add $5 an hour to that. I was like, 5 times 40 is 200. You're going to get paid, you know, there's 4 weeks in a month. So 200 times 4 is $800. It's like you're going to go from making $3,200 a month to $4,000 a month with a $5 an hour raise. You get an extra paycheck for just showing up to work. And then all of a sudden it clicked in his head. He hadn't done that math himself. He just heard $5 an hour raise. You want to know what happened the next day? Oh, my car's broke down. I can't make it. So I can't do it for them. I can present the opportunity. And I think that's where we get hung up is we present it. We get so invested in them because they've been there 30, 60, 90 days. We don't want to start back over with somebody new. Like, look, folks, I get why. But when they don't want it, you can't make them get it.
No.
And I think that's what I've learned. That's what John's learned. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not fun.
Oh, it's horrible.
But the sooner you realize it, I'd rather, if I would have cut all of these guys at 30 days, knowing that it didn't work, I would have gone through a lot more people, but I would have had better odds of finding the one that it would have worked with instead of waiting 9 months. That's 270 days, folks. That's 9. I could have gone through 9 people instead of 1 because I wouldn't. So, but here I wouldn't shit or get off the pot.
But look what you learned in those 9 months.
Okay, but that's valuable.
That's how the optimistic brain works.
You're right. Yes, 100% correct, John. Like now I've learned that lesson, and you've learned it too. Mm-hmm. And so, but going forward, it'll be much easier. And I hope somebody listens to this and they're like, oh man, look, I got to pull the plug. Okay, like I don't want to do it, but I got to pull the plug on this person. I want to help you through my mistakes. And I know you do too. So yes, I'm very thankful for the lesson I learned. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to pull the plug after 30 days and say, this isn't working. I need somebody else. This isn't working. I need somebody else. And when I find the guy,
say a system like that is great. That is probably the best way to do it for me is even just to write it down. Like, you know, and I've done that with this guy. You know, I've got stuff wrote down. I've got goals that I want to see. I'm willing to be flexible on them, but I need to see that, especially somebody like me who's a big time, get in here. It's okay. I need to be held accountable. And that's why it's so nice to have you as a friend too, Kyle, because you have a better way. You have a more commanding demeanor when you say it. But
I'm blunt.
An individual like me needs to see that every day and to hold because now I'm holding myself accountable. But I'm not also going to let that define that I need to all of a sudden just be a dickhead. No,
that is no way in what this discussion is about. I don't want anyone to go be an a-hole to their employee. I think that's the worst decision you can make. But by us knowing what it takes to be successful and being able to show them that, hold them accountable to it, and then if they're reciprocating with the effort, right? There's a lot of people that want a mentor in life, okay? And they will go ask people to mentor them. And a smart mentor has learned this exact same lesson we're talking about. If this person that's successful in an area you want to be mentored in decides to mentor you, they're going to invest some time in you. Then you're going to meet again, and they're going to invest some more time in you. What's not going to happen is that when you keep meeting and you're not showing that you're doing the work outside of your meetings and you're not showing any progress or change, they will cut you off because their time is too valuable that they will not want to invest in you because you are not showing them that you are appreciative of what they're giving you. And this is the exact, whether we can break this down in that it's an exchange of labor for money. Okay. I get that. At its essence, you are an employee. I'm an employer, and we're going to make an exchange. However, during that exchange, I'm trying to grow you because I am making an investment in my company. If you can't reciprocate that you want to be a part of that investment, then I need to cut ties because this is a bad investment and I can't grow. Now, if you are a giant shop and you have 50 guys out running around, then maybe you can afford 5 to 8 that operate at a very basic level and are great at like assisting with tear outs and running tools and making cuts. And like, not everyone has to be an A+ player when you have that many employees. However, you really, and again, working through stuff is you don't need the 20 game winner in everybody. No, there's a lot of other things you need before that. But when it's Kyle and an apprentice, or it's John and an apprentice, or John and a sub, you probably need at least a B+ player. I need somebody that can go out and do stuff because I have to be able to trust you.
I grade everybody. Every day. We always shoot for. You start off. I say at Steier Flooring, you start off at a B+. Why? Because we want you to have some room to get a little better.
Okay.
But it is. I always want my day. It's funny you said that. We always want to end the day at a B+. Why? Because that's a damn good grade.
I think so. I think that's like minimum quality standards met, right? Like I didn't go above and beyond, but I didn't fail. Like I met standards.
That's above and beyond for me. C+ that's just like you were just okay. You did what needed to be done. Mm-hmm. B+, you're still holding doors and smiling and answering questions and staying on task.
But I can't.
A+ is it's hard to get.
But I can't invest in a C+ guy. Yeah, right. Like if I'm sending them out to accomplish projects on their own, I can't trust that it's going to get done right, and I can't take that risk. Once again, if I'm 50 employees deep, right, we're running like a workroom or something, I can afford some C+ guys because I can cherry pick projects that fit that skill level of like, it's okay that this gets done to C+ standards. Otherwise, I need somebody that's going to come in, want to grow, want to learn, move forward, help the company advance. And that's where, once again, it comes back to, I think that's the struggle, is like we get so invested after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days trying to hold on to somebody. Do I really want to start over? I got to make it work now. I have to. I have to.
Oh, it's the most
It's too late,
frightening
man.
thing in the world. It is the most frightening thing in the world. And I think, when you look at Kyle, we have a very light business. They're very, to look at it and to be like, you made the comment, my time is worth something.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to completely retrain somebody, it's a fantastic thought. And it's awesome to think that I could at some point have another John Steier. But at the same point, I'm like, oh man, the amount of time I've spent to get to where I'm at now, and then to have to not be able to produce at the level I'm at producing. Because if you take somebody that doesn't even know what a hammer is and try to teach them, it takes forever and ever. So I see that's one thing that's maybe a little pessimistic about me is and that too, just from talk, like, I'm just going to idle right here because it feels really good,
Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of people. I think there's people that can learn quick. There's people that can learn slow, right? I had a good understanding of tools and how they operated when I came into this. I understood how to read a tape measure. I understood, I picked up on things fairly quickly. Should I have been out on my own? I don't know, maybe not, but I did it and it was successful. So, I've learned a lot since then. I'm not, I haven't stayed at the person I was when I went out on my own. But that was my mindset. The person that would get me excited these days, and maybe this is a great gauge, is if you're putting your apprentice in the van with you or your truck with you at the end of the day, and they're the guy that won't shut up and they're asking 1,000 questions, that dude's probably going to work out long term. My dude was getting in the van and passing out and falling asleep because it was a 45-minute drive home and he could get a 45-minute nap. So there's a huge difference. Like, I was the guy that got in the van and wouldn't shut up. Why'd we do it this way? What if we did it that way? How do we do this? What are we doing tomorrow? Like, I want to learn. Where can I go? That's why I went and found the Facebook groups on my own when I was still an employee, was that I was thirsty for the knowledge. And so maybe that's a good judge of character. And not everybody is going to be that thirsty. I get it. But do they even show an inclination of that while they're at work during the 8 hours? Are they asking good questions? Are they paying attention? Are they interested? And if they're not, maybe it's just time to let them go, because if you're not interested in what you're doing, I don't think you're going to help me grow. And once again, I know it sucks to fire
when you're
people.
not even that fun to be around.
No,
I mean, who wants to be around the dude that just comes to work and or gal that's just punches the clock and mopes around? I mean, man, how fulfilling of a life is that? You're going to be an old person someday. We're all going to be that way. And you look back and it's like, yeah, I didn't do anything, I think that's just, to me, that's just a horrible, horrible feeling just thinking about it now, And Kyle, we're considered middle-aged, but in our trade, we're considered young.
It's mind-blowing, my friend.
It's mind-blowing, right?
I can't wrap my head. It's sad. It truly is, because we're not. I've used the stat a lot on the episodes lately because it's the newest one, but the average age of a hardwood sand and finish guy is 51. Man, I'm 40. That's only 11 years. Like, that could be my brother. And I'm at 40, I'm kind of like, I'm one of the young guys. That's a problem, folks. Okay. We need some young blood. We need to get our minds wrapped around this. And so don't go play Captain Save-A-Ho. There's nothing wrong with a hand up. Don't be Captain Save-A-Ho giving hand
Do it right.
outs.
Do it right. So many of us have done it wrong that there's no need for you to make that mistake.
Correct.
There's no need for it. Reach out. Truthfully, the best thing for me, as crazy as it sounds, is I got on these Facebook groups. I shared positivity. I met people that I knew I could network with. And my business has done fantastic through it. And anybody's can. I still am going to be the one, I'm always going to say, just be optimistic about everybody. Anybody you run into, they've got a great story to tell. As crappy as a person they might be, everybody's got something good to tell you, something good to present.
No, I believe it. And well, you made a great point earlier. We didn't go on it, and I'll just mention it again. Was like you were like, just talk to somebody. Like you will find a common thing to enjoy a conversation with them with, which it's true. Like as long as you try hard enough. Look, at the end of the day, we both have hearts, right? We both have parents. Like there's something that we are going to have in common. We can have a conversation about.
We will agree. I guarantee. I don't care. The people in general. I don't like saying it like that. We all have more in common than we disagree on. The problem is that we spend too much time and effort trying to fight and argue the crap that we disagree on, where instead we need to be celebrating everything that we agree on and working on how to better that, because then this petty crap behind us doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. It's usually think about it. Think about like wars and all that. I don't want to get too deep on you, but it's always started on just like, man, people are doing just stupid stuff,
Welcome to
my
being
grandmother
humans.
always said if people would, she always used the word, if these men in power would all get together and have a cigar and a drink, they'd all learn the same thing we just said there, that they have way more stuff in common. They have more stuff in common than they disagree on.
So go invest in people. I think that's the message here. Is there's nothing wrong with investing in people, but the people have to want it.
Absolutely.
It's part of investing as a business back into your community. You're developing your community by offering to grow your company and have a job available to somebody. And so help people get where they want to go. And if they reciprocate, awesome. If not, hey, look, it didn't work here. Maybe if you know somebody else, if they'd be a good fit somewhere else, help them go get a job over there. But have your standards, have your stuff in place. Make sure you're taking care of your business so that you can take care of you. And if they can help the business, then you can help them, right? Like we got to be able, sadly, we got to be able to get something out of it. Can you be there for them to be a listening ear if it doesn't work out? Like John still talks to some of these folks. Yeah, sure. Why not? But they're not coming to him and asking him for money anymore. They're not trying to get payday advances. They're not borrowing the van to go do a project that he gave them because theirs broke down. Like he's able to more successfully run his business because he doesn't have them to drag along with him anymore. And it's a hard lesson to learn. I get it. But please learn it. And please go do better for you and better for people and better for your company. Like it's going to be okay. I promise. I know it hurts to fire people. It's not a fun conversation. Just go do it though.
That's
Rip
what they
the
have HR people. That is what, Kyle, I think you'd be great at that. You don't, I don't think you would do it in a hurtful way. I just think some people handle confrontation better.
Yes.
I'm not one of those people. I'm all about solutions, and I don't like the that part of it. I hate it.
Look, nobody does. I guarantee you, nobody does. So, all that being said, is there anything that we didn't hit on that we should hit on like very quickly? Because I know you and I can definitely both run on way too long. So,
yes, and all I want to say is I made a comment, and I truly believe this will change your life. Next time you're in a grocery store, say hi to everybody. Might be kind of weird. Everybody you meet in the aisle, look them in the eye, smile, and say hi. You will be surprised at how quickly that becomes a habit. And you'll be surprised quickly how many people smile back at you. Mm-hmm. And you think about how that makes you feel, how that probably made them feel. And so that's I do practice that all the time. I'm that weirdo in a clinic saying hi to sick people that, it probably, it's just,
I don't think it's weird. Sucks. I think it's great. The world needs it, right? I mean, you could have unknowingly, you could have stopped somebody from committing suicide. Like you hear weird stories like that all the time where it was like somebody randomly said hi to me today. And that was all I needed, right? I saw the faith, the goodness in humanity. So I think that's great advice.
Can I share a funny story, Kyle? Let's just do it. Let's do it.
Real quick.
I'm a reserve police officer, and this last weekend, we had a young man that has made some bad choices in life, and he ended up having to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always awkward, to be honest with you, when you haul somebody like that to jail. And I remember, I try to, if they're going to talk about something, I try to divert it into something a little bit more. By the time I dropped this guy off to jail, I did have him kind of smiling because I said, we were commenting on, at least he looked good. At least he was good. A lot of people get hauled into jail. They don't really look their best. At that point, things could be better. So I thought that was kind of interesting. He got out of the car. He was smiling. He was going to go meet the man, and he was going to look good.
There you go. I like it, right? You got to put a little positivity out there. So I love it. I think that's going to do it for us this week, folks. I hope it helped. I don't be Captain Save-A-Ho. Be Captain hand up, not hand out. Okay. And it's going to make a difference. It's not easy, especially if you're like John and you have this like giving personality, but there's a line. And we gotta watch it. I'm not telling you don't go help anybody. Like, I think it's very important to help people. So just be aware of what and how you're helping. All that being said, thank you for tuning in. Once again, Floor Academy Pod, check out the shop. We got the files section over there. I got a list of books now that I put up, worked with my web guy. So I got a bunch of books that I've recommended. I've got summaries on some of them of why I think they're great. If you're interested in the mastermind classes, there's a page for the mastermind classes now. And you can help support the show at patreon.com. Like, subscribe, go click on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, the little subscribe button. And a little message from Surfaces, and then we'll catch y'all next week. The in-person Surfaces event has concluded in Las Vegas, and wow, what a great event. Did you know Tice has a smart event on Facebook and access stays open all year? The Tice Live virtual event Vegas edition is home to product videos and in-booth product interviews, sessions live filmed from the show, including my 2 sessions, Myth-Busting Gen Z and Give Back to Get Back, event updates, and more. Floor Academy podcast listeners can access free. I can't even get through my own stuff. This is what happens when you read a new one. All right. Floor Academy podcast listeners can get free access by registering at the International Surface Event page, intlsurfaceevent.com/register, using promo code Kyle, Kyle, before February 28th. So you're going to go register, you get set up, and then you can get into they'll allow you to get into the Facebook group, and then you get access to all of that great stuff. So there's going to be live sessions, not just my 2. There's lots of other great speakers. I know, friend of the show, Shannon Vogel's going to have a talk. I think Michelle Winters is going to have a talk. She's another friend of the show. And there's more. Fred Houston, who's been on the show, does the Stone and Tile podcast. He has a talk that he's doing. So that's probably going to be available. There's going to be lots of great content. Get in there. And then, of course, you got to keep up to date so that you can find out when and where and how and all that fun stuff for Surfaces next year, because you ain't going to want to miss it, because you're going to get so much great content. You're going to have to go network in person, and then you're going to want to see it live. So check them all out. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.